The top 10 most outrageous laws in ancient times. Have you ever wondered how different life might have been under the laws of ancient civilizations? Picture a world where justice is meted out by gods and emperors, where societal norms are enforced by the harshest of penalties. This was the reality for our ancestors living under laws that, by today's standards, seem outright outrageous. From the draconian laws of ancient Greece to the sacred feline rules of Egypt, these are far from the norms we know today. So, let's dive into the top 10 most outrageous laws from ancient times. Kicking off the countdown at number 10, we have the draconian laws of ancient Greece. Named after Draco, an Athenian legislator, these laws were known for their severity. In Draco's Athens, the price of crime was high, and the judicial system was unforgiving. Even the slightest of misdemeanors could lead to the most severe punishment. One such law, which may seem absurd to us now, was the penalty for stealing a cabbage. Yes, you heard that right. In the world of draconian laws, pilfering a cabbage was no small offense. It was a crime punishable by death. This was the uncompromising reality of life under the draconian laws. The fear of punishment was a deterrent, maintaining order in the society. But for us, it's a stark reminder of how far our justice system has evolved. Imagine losing your life over a stolen cabbage. At number 9, we have the law of retaliation from ancient Babylon. Now, this isn't your everyday tit-for-tat scenario. Babylonians took the concept of an eye for an eye to a whole new level, under what was known as the lex talionis, or law of retaliation. You see, in Babylon, if you built a house and it collapsed, killing the owner, you wouldn't just be facing a lawsuit. No, you'd be staring death in the face, quite literally. The builder would be put to death, a startling example of holding individuals accountable for their actions. The Babylonians believed in a direct and equivalent form of punishment, creating a society where the consequences of one's actions were severe and immediate. It was a law that demanded perfection in craftsmanship, a law that echoed in the stone and clay buildings of Babylon. Talk about taking responsibility for your work. Coming in at number 8, we have the Roman law of paterfamilias. Now, this law was not just a simple rule, it was a way of life in ancient Rome. The term paterfamilias itself translates to father of the family, and this role was taken very seriously. The paterfamilias, typically the oldest living male in a household, wielded absolute authority over his family. He was the judge, jury, and executioner, all rolled into one. This might sound a bit extreme, but in those times it was considered normal. The paterfamilias had the power to decide the fate of his children. He could choose to sell them into slavery, or in extreme cases, even decide to end their lives. This law may seem outrageous to us today, but back then it was seen as a method of maintaining order and discipline within the family. So the next time you think your parents are being strict, just remember the Roman law of paterfamilias. Parenting certainly took a different form in ancient Rome. At number 7, we find ourselves in ancient China with the law of collective punishment. This was not a law for the faint of heart. Rooted in the concept of shared responsibility, collective punishment meant that if one person committed a crime, his entire family could be held accountable. Take this for an example. If a man was caught stealing, it wasn't just him who faced the consequences. His entire family could be beheaded. Yes, you heard that right. Beheaded. This law was designed to deter crime by making the potential cost extremely high. The idea was that you weren't just risking your own life by breaking the law, but the lives of those you held dear as well. However, critics argue that this law didn't just deter crime, it also bred a culture of fear and mistrust, as one person's actions could bring calamity on an entire family. Talk about guilt by association. At number 6, we travel to ancient India and the strict laws of the caste system. This social structure, steeped in tradition and religion, was not just about social status, it was about one's very essence, their dharma or duty. Your birth determined your caste, and your caste determined your occupation, social status, and even who you could marry, for life. The caste system was divided into 4 main categories, or varnas: Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. The Brahmins were the priests and scholars, the Kshatriyas were the warriors and rulers, the Vaishyas were the traders, and the Shudras were the laborers. But here's where it gets outrageous. A person from a lower caste could be killed for simply offending someone from a higher caste. Talk about a severe punishment for a social faux pas. This was a society where your fate was sealed at birth, and stepping out of line could mean death. Social mobility was clearly not a thing in ancient India. Halfway through our countdown at number 5, we have the Egyptian law of sacred cats. Cats were held in high regard in ancient Egyptian society, so much so that a law was put in place to protect them. The Egyptians believed that cats had protective qualities and brought good luck. They were considered so sacred that killing one, even accidentally, was a serious crime. The punishment for this unthinkable act? Nothing less than death itself. Yes, you heard that right. If you accidentally ran over a cat with your chariot or harmed one in any way, you could be sentenced to death. That's quite a hefty penalty for an unfortunate accident, isn't it? The reverence for these feline creatures was so deep-rooted in the Egyptian culture that cats were often depicted in art, and even mummified alongside their owners. So the next time you're visiting ancient Egypt, remember, better watch where you step. At number 4, we have the Aztec law of adultery. In the realm of ancient Aztec society, the stakes were raised exceptionally high when it came to the act of adultery. This was no mere slap on the wrist or public shaming. Oh no, the Aztecs took the concept of punishment to a whole new level. According to Aztec law, if a man or woman were found guilty of committing adultery, they were sentenced to death. But not just any death. They were to die by extraction of the heart. Quite literally, this law meant that those involved in an adulterous act would have their hearts ripped out. This extreme form of punishment sent a clear message about the seriousness of fidelity in their society. It was a stark reminder that the unity of family and honor of marriage were paramount values. Adultery was truly a matter of life and death in ancient Aztec society. In the top 3 now, at number 3, we have the Spartan law of cowardice. Now, Sparta was a city-state in ancient Greece known for its military prowess. But did you know that their reputation was maintained by a strict law against cowardice? Indeed, Spartan men were expected to be warriors, and showing fear or retreating in battle was considered the ultimate disgrace. Those who faltered in the face of the enemy were not given a hero's welcome upon return. Instead, they were subjected to severe social shaming or even death. This harsh law was a crucial factor in shaping the Spartan army into one of the most formidable forces of the ancient world. It's a stark reminder of how different our values can be across cultures and epochs. Bravery wasn't just a virtue in Sparta, it was a matter of legal obligation. Bravery was not just a virtue in Sparta, it was a law. Coming in at number 2, we have the Persian law of water crime. In ancient Persia, water held an esteemed and sacred position. It was a symbol of purity, life, and health, and as such, it was guarded with utmost reverence. So much so that polluting water, particularly running water, was considered a grave crime. Now, we're not talking about a fine or a slap on the wrist. This was a capital offense punishable by death. Imagine fetching water from a stream and unintentionally dropping a leaf or two into the water. In today's world, it would hardly raise an eyebrow. But in ancient Persia, such an act could cost you your life. This law, as harsh as it sounds, underlines the importance Persians placed on preserving the sanctity of natural resources. So next time you're by a body of water, remember the ancient Persians and their stringent laws. In their world, it was always pollute water at your own peril in ancient Persia. And now, the most outrageous law from ancient times, the Celtic law of hospitality. Imagine a world where it was not merely an act of kindness, but a legal obligation to open your doors to any wayfarer who knocked. The ancient Celts lived by this very rule. In the rolling hills and dense forests of Celtic lands, hospitality was not just customary, it was compulsory. Every home, be it a humble cottage or a grand palace, was mandated to provide food, drink, and a bed to any traveler who happened to knock on their door. A refusal was not taken lightly. This was no mere social faux pas, but a serious transgression that could lead to severe penalties. So, the next time you're reluctant to host a surprise visitor, consider the Celts, who didn't have the luxury of choice. The old saying, "Be careful who you invite into your home," takes on a whole new meaning, doesn't it? You never knew who you might be hosting for dinner in ancient Celtic lands. So there you have it, the top 10 most outrageous laws from ancient times. From the draconian law of ancient Greece that made idleness a crime, to the Roman law of paterfamilias that gave the male head of the family almost divine rights over his kin. From the Chinese law of collective punishment that held entire families accountable for the crimes of one, to the Hindu law of caste system that divided society into rigid hierarchies. From the Egyptian law of sacred cats that made felines a protected class, to the Aztec law of adultery that had severe penalties for infidelity. From the Spartan law of cowardice that made bravery a duty, to the Persian law of water crime that considered polluting water a serious offense. From the Celtic law of hospitality that made kindness a legal obligation, to our final law, the Celtic law of hospitality, that mandated every home to provide shelter to any traveler who knocked on their door. As we reflect on these laws, we can see how they have evolved over time, often for the better. They provide a fascinating glimpse into the societies that created them, their values, priorities, and fears. Thank you for joining us on this journey through history. Remember, laws are a reflection of the society that creates them. Until next time, stay curious and keep questioning. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel.